Public Affairs Forum of WZTV Fox 17. And now your host, Dr. James Haney.
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is Survival Skills Program, and we're fortunate to have with us a person who has been involved with this Survival Skills Program, Mr. KStephens, who is the facilitator for the program. And Mr. Stephens, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Haney.
You know, when we talk about, Mr. Stephens, Survival Skills Program, exactly what are we talking about, and where is this program located within the government itself? Tell us as much as you possibly can about this program.
Survival Skills for Men was developed by Dr. Linda Thurston at Kansas State University. It was developed because there was a Survival Skills for Women program that was established some 6 or 7 years ago that has been and is changing the lives of women today. It is and was so successful that there had to be a parallel. Here comes the program for men. She developed this program at Kansas State University, and in doing so, Tennessee became one of the pilot sites. And our government and our administrators, our commissioner, Dr. James Davenport, and the Human Services got together and accepted this challenge. I applaud them for accepting that challenge because it helps to address current issues today. And Nashville was one of the sites selected, as was Memphis, as a pilot study. And praise the Lord, I have been selected to be the first facilitator out of Nashville. We went to a very intensive study course that lasted 3 or 4 days in Memphis. And the program began in Nashville. Our recipients came from the Department of Human Services. The program is a 10-session workshop that covers money management, that covers coping with crisis, that covers health problems, that covers different things dealing with the family, dealing with legal rights, legal responsibilities, and etc.
And so this is a program that attempts to reach a certain group of males rather than any other group. And
we're blessed because it addressed a issue, a problem that prevails in our society today as an unforgotten entity, the male. And the situation has come back and they addressed this problem, and it is successful.
When you talk about survival skills, and I think you've already mentioned that there are a number of seminars connected with this and a course of study, but exactly what are we talking about? I mean, are these the skills that a person will need in order to survive, and is it more than just survival, or exactly what are we talking about in terms of skills?
Takes, for instance, the goals and aspirations. It is a situation where men sit down in a group setting and explain, explore, and find out who our heroes are. I use myself as an icebreaker. My parents were my heroes, my father and my mother. They're both still living. We have 7 kids, all of us graduated from college. So there in itself, they have led us and given us the roots to do and excel in what we're about. So what we try to do is in each one of these different workshops, we have a practical experience. As we hash the different subjects around, these guys are experts in their own lives. So we utilize that in conjunction with the educational material, and what a beautiful, beautiful issue and discussion we do get from that.
What are the natures of some of the discussions that you happen to supervise that are dealing with these young men?
Well, probably one of the most is getting a job. Now, most people think just if you go out and look for 3 different sites, that's enough to get a job. Finding a job is a 40-hour-week job in itself. And we got to reiterate to these guys that if you want to find, work is there. But if you want to find a job, you really have to put something into it. Not just going to a place applying for a job, but it's your appearance, how you go, how you talk, how you present yourself. What have you, first of all, we stop and say, how have you done it in the past? Let's make a change. Let's try to improve on your approach about procuring work.
In other words, you were not successful in securing a job in the past, so evidently something was wrong, and so now you're concerned about improving whatever they've been able to do.
That is true, and Networking probably is your biggest element. They only have a limited source of places to go seeking work. They'll come to the unemployment office, or they'll go to office here or there, but family becomes a very important part of networking for work. Your churches, your different people that you know, friends of friends become important, as well as the Employment Security Office.
When you think about the survival skills and some of the problems that many of these young persons have, exactly what age group are we talking about, and what education level do we find that you're dealing with for the most part?
We're dealing with men from ages 18 to 40, and all of these are food stamp recipients. So they have their own food stamps, and that's one of the criteria to be eligible for the program.
Well, why don't you talk about the eligibility now? Because I'm sure that that there are some persons who are watching this morning who would like to know about how to become involved in such a program, and exactly some of the things that are connected with that program.
Well, it is exclusive for food stamp recipients, and anyone who's interested must go through the food stamp office, the Human Services Department, and they will refer you or the person who want to be attendee to employment security. And
so in many instances, many of these persons, in terms of their own education level, might not have completed high school. Is that it? Or do you find that? Well,
the good thing about the Tennessee Department of Employment Security, we have so many programs that meet the needs of all of the people. So they need to go and contact some of the agencies and find out what programs are available and get in those said programs. We at Employment Security, we do have referrals from Human Services, and going back to get your GED is one program. So whatever your problem is, or whatever the situation you find yourself, it can give you some directions about what to do.
In other words, no matter what your situation might be, whether you're connected with the program that you facilitate or some other program, that the Department of Employment Security has some program or some project that can assist you in improving whatever you wish to do. Is that essentially what we're saying?
Getting jobs is the main problem for the males. And education or training programs, there are plenty. You need to go to one of the local employment security offices to find out what is available, and then make contact to get into that program.
You know, sometimes we talk about some of the real problems of young people, and I think we've dealt with this whole question of violence, and especially among teenagers and that kind of thing. What about your program? Can your program do anything in order to deal with this as a regional problem or a national problem, or what? How do you see that?
Well, no one has the answers, but you have to make a try. In our Family Man section of our program, dealing with the attendees themselves, I've come up with a questionnaire about anger control. Nowhere in their lives have that ever been addressed. So I go to the source. Why are you angry? Who are you angry at? And a lot of the problems and a lot of the answers I hear from the 7 groups I've had is, I'm angry because I didn't do what I should have or what I could have. I'm really angry at myself.
You find that to be quite...
I find that to be quite prevalent.
Well, now what can you do in terms of addressing that as an issue? I mean, is there any kind of program that you have, or any kind of special kind of information that you give them to deal with self, or what?
Well, no, I can't, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that from that standpoint, but if I do find someone who has some, I can refer them further to another agency that might be able to help them. But most of all, if they'll just stop and analyze who I am, where I am, and then try to figure out a plan where I want to be 5 or 6 years from there. If they begin to try to do those things, they're headed in the right direction.
And so you not only are you dealing with survival skills, but you also talk about goals and objectives and how they might be able to achieve those goals by applying them to their own lives.
And what we try to do there in goals and aspirations, we try them to set a short-term goal, something that is realistically attainable. And in doing that, if it's no more than just getting work, right now they're unemployed, just to get a job, if that's a short-term goal, let's do that.
And whatever the goal, just there has to be some kind of movement in their lives indicating that they have been quite successful. I would imagine that with a program like that, you can talk about a number of success programs, I mean successes that you've had in such a program. why don't you, and since we do hear so much about the negatives and whatnot, why don't you give us some things that you would consider to be so important that it makes the program worthwhile, some success stories that you can tell us about personally?
Well, just here lately, we start out with the program. We have about 10 to 15 attendees. And an employer happened to hear about the program and called our office manager to see if they could get a large number of employees. Well, my manager, Mrs. Sarah Merrill, she turned the information over to me, so she said, here's a possibility to get some of these guys work, because that's what we're about. So I called the guy, Matt Gannon at Hamilton Riker Company, and I asked him, you do want some workers yet? He said, yes. I said, I have some guys in a special program, this survival skills program. See, I heard about it. I said, would you hire them in disregard to their work history? He said, whoa, what do you mean by that? I said, would you give them a chance? He said, I tell you what, I'll come out to your place and talk to the guys. He did. He came out to 301, where our office is located right there on James Robinson Parkway, and we had about 12 or 13 guys in attendance. He hired 11 on the spot at the Wilson's Sporting Goods place. I was so elated. I was just thrilled to death that an employer would break down his old ties, old ego, and say, hey, I will hire them if they have took the initiative to go through some type of program to help themselves. And I was just pleased.
When you look at the program, and I think you said earlier that the only drawback you find on such a program is that there are not enough slots in such programs. Let's talk about that, not by means of criticism, but by means of information, because in this new situation that we're in now, this new economy and whatnot, there are going to be many, many opportunities for people, and it does seem to me that this is a program that can be replicated in other areas. What do you see as some of the shortcomings in terms of what you're dealing with now?
Well, it's not a shortcoming right now, but I envision it being expanded. I talked to my commissioner, James Davenport, and he indicated that the continuation was probable, and they had to look at some statistics and other things, and it also weighed upon the federal funding and whatever, but he almost assured me that there would be some improvement in the program because he was pleased how the program was running. Yes, I meet twice a week, Wednesday and Fridays. It's a 3-hour workshop session, but and the rate of completion stands about 52%. However, the employment rate stands at 42%. That's 94% of the people who come in, something happens. There's a change in the direction in which they were going. I am just tickled to death that I could be involved in such a program.
Now, what are some of the other similar kinds of programs that the department offers that our audience might be either concerned about becoming involved in, or just concerned about in terms of having the knowledge to know where the tax money is going? What are some of the other things?
Well, the GED program is one of them. They have other tax shelter programs, the TJTC program. They have some programs for veterans. There's so many, too many, too numerous to mention, that all they have to do is, if you have a problem and are stuck in a situation, you have to go to somebody. What I'm finding is that a lot of people do not want to ask. Asking someone gives public indication that it's a downer. And they have to change from that situation and begin to ask for help. It's not forever. And us having problems is only a comma in the sentence of one's life.
Good. And so the department has a whole array of various programs that people who find themselves with their backs up against the wall for whatever, but they have to take the initiative to do it.
That's right. That's correct.
And of course, your program, Survival Skills, will deal with that, with them taking that kind of initiative. Sure.
The educational part of our program include those workshop topics, but additionally what I've done is I've ensured and insisted that the guys make sure they have a Social Security card, make sure they have a library card. They said, why would I need a library card? Well, some of the guys are homeless. So if not no more than on a cold day, you have somewhere to go where it's warm. And maybe while you're in there, you might read a book, you know, or in the summertime, the same scenario. If it's hot outside and you go into an air-conditioned building, and that's a possibility. Also, I have them register to vote. You are one of the citizens of Nashville. This is one of your responsibilities. You mean I'm that important? Yes, you are. So we insist that they register to vote. And there are some who come in who may have some problems where they're not eligible, but we are going to let the agency let us know that they are not eligible. If a man is sick, he becomes the ward of his family or becomes the ward of the city. So we try to insist and influence them to take care of yourself. If I have a toothache, I don't have the money to go get a tooth pulled. So in the program, we have a network with Matthew Walker. Matthew Walker will give them a free health situation.
And so, in a real sense, you're able to, from your base in the Employment Security Department, you're able to reach out into other areas and find other services that these persons might be able to become involved in. I understand you talked about the homeless population. Do you find a large number of people that come to you are actually homeless persons? And what are some of their situations when you find that?
When a homeless person comes into our program, they will have been referred by the Human Services. They have gone there to get food stamps. In getting food stamps, one of the criteria are that you must be involved in one of the programs that are prevalent. So survival skills, they are mandatorily assigned to survival skills. So when they come in, a lot of them do not have permanent housing or whatever. A lot of them do not have, or from out of town, and don't have ID. That is the biggest fallacy I find in men walking around the streets without positive identification. Of the Tennessee people, I ensure that they get a birth certificate. Why? Because a lot of us as men, our parents, have our birth certificates. So what do you have to prove who you are? You don't. So I get that as a positive proof of who you are.
So you're finding that that's a real problem in terms of a large number of persons not having any, not much less driver's license, anything less, but no real identification as to how to identify themselves.
And, you know, like you say, there are a lot of guys who may have problems with driving and they don't have driver's license, but there is a driver's Tennessee ID that they're supposed to have. Well, we insist that they also get that. And once they procure these employment tools, I call them, once they procure those, you can sense that they have a better feeling about themselves. It's low self-esteem has been improved. What? Because they have proof.
And so it's a whole conscious raising, self-esteem kind of thing that you're trying to instill in many of these persons who are dealing with survival skills.
Yes, the educational material that is in the program is like following a script. That's fine. We do that to the word. But however, additionally, those are the things that they find that here's a person who cares. I mean, not that everybody else haven't been, but men have fears of failing as a man, as a father, as a brother, as a person who didn't get enough skills or education. They have fears of this being found out. Well, don't worry about it being found out. You've got to do something about it and go from here. We've got training programs that you've got to get involved. We're going to let you know where they are.
Now, what about literacy? And this, I think, is a very, very important element dealing with employment security. What about some of your literacy programs, and what do you find in your department in terms of the opportunity that people have to become literate? A large number of our people, for example, drop out of high school and et cetera and et cetera. But what are we doing in terms of trying to deal with that?
Well, one thing, I'm blessed. I'm in special projects, which handles the food stamp carryover from the Department of Human Services. And our representatives down there, Flo Parsley, Deborah Owens, all the other people that work there, they have the option. If they find a literate person, they have, and they do send them on to literate education or whatever. So that's a good option for them.
And so you think that with this program, what about this program? And you indicated that the survival skills program started in Kansas, and that this is one of the several pilot projects. What about taking such a program, and especially since you indicated that you're dealing with the homeless population, with people who have dropped out of high school and et cetera. What about the cost effectiveness of such a program to apply it on a much larger scale? For example, certainly you might be able to apply it in Nashville, but what about throughout the nation? Is this one of the many possibilities that we can think about when we have to deal with the 40 and the 50% of unemployment that we find in many of our communities? Why don't you, that's what I want you to speak to, speak those kinds of issues.
What we found is Dr. Linda Thurston indicated at our last conference that there are now 4 states that have got survival skills undergo. And the male situation is growing vastly, and I look forward to the time when it'll be in every major city. I guess the biggest problem right now is they're only attacking the local major cities in the major states right now, but I'm sure the rural areas, they're going to want programs such as this to help them, all of the total people. It'll expand, I'm sure.
And so there's a tremendous possibility. What about the staff in such a program? I mean, is this program cost effective in terms of the number of dollars you have to put in for professionals to deal with the people who need these skills?
Well, I'm not, up on the financial situation of that, but I am up on giving my caring, my concern for
Well, do you have
people.
a large number of people, staff members in your own department compared to the number of people you're trying to help?
The only thing we have right now is I do the facilitating for the males in Nashville, and Renetta Swanson is a facilitator for the females in our particular office.
And so in reality, you really have just 2 persons who are deeply involved in that program, yet you're dealing with a large...
employment security.
In employment security, yet you're dealing with a large number of other folks, and you have access to some of these other offices that you can make referrals to in dealing with these persons.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's depending on how the contract is written as who the clients are. Human Services is the parent operator of that situation, but I'm sure that it can expand. I do envision survival skills from the way it is now, high schools. With the youngsters coming out of high school, they're not prepared. And I also see a possible directional move going toward the prisons, going to help some of the people coming out of the drug programs. So this is a powerful program, and especially for this sect of people, the males. Our prisons are overcrowded, and especially the males, and we've got to do something. We've got to address the issue, and I just applaud the efforts of the Department of Human Services and Employment Security for addressing that issue now, not waiting until it really becomes something bad.
And so there's tremendous possibilities for this program. I think you've indicated the prison population, and there are a large number of minorities involved in that, in the prison population, and there are many other areas that you can become involved in with this program.
And see, the other thing is that if you really look deep, this program could probably be vested into the early childhood of, especially in the low income, maybe the males who are missing. If we can get some good, strong male models or role models to go into the schools at early ages, this can improve the educational growth of a lot of the young blacks particularly. Because I'm getting some feeling from, this is feedback from guys in the group, a lot of the, especially the male blacks who come in, they have indicated that they had problems in early childhood in school, in that as they began, they didn't know an answer, and by saying the wrong answer, they were chastised. Not knowingly, a lot of teachers said, no, that is not the wrong answer, or fellow students, you didn't know that, you big dummy. So what happens, and these guys are telling me now, they're holding this all these years, that
there was that instance of rejection.
Yes, that rejection I don't want to get again. So what I'll do, I'll be quiet so that I don't get that again. I'll be quiet so I don't have to remove the doubt that people think I don't know. So we need to address the issue of the males in our society and try to help them, get them back initiated in the family life. That's where our worth is going to be. The young children who are coming up today, they need to see some male images.
You know, over these last 5 minutes that we have here, Stephens, let's look at some of the things that are happening in the state dealing with employment, because I think that in Nashville here over the last several months, we've had indication that there's going to be a bicentennial mall, that there's going to be an arena, that there's going to be improvements at Meharry because of the merging, et cetera. And we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars that will be there. Yet we find that there's a tremendous unemployment among many people in the inner cities. And there are a large number of folks who need these kinds of survival skills. So what can you, within your program, say to people this morning about what we ought to do in terms of trying to tie in to some of that money that's going to be available?
Well, first of all, that has to come from on high, of course, and our people who come in who aren't skilled, you need to find some skills that, first of all, you have to be interested in a particular skill. And there are some genuine good apprenticeship programs that are available. Down at 909 on 8th Avenue, they've got the apprenticeship, a log of apprenticeship programs, and very few people are inquiring about them. Well, maybe they don't know. But if that's the case, they need to go and find out. And the jobs that, I'm sure a lot of jobs are going to be opened up when these constructions of these new entities that make our city what we want it to be, that this set of our people are going to be touched.
That if a person has the slightest interest in bricklaying, for example, that you're telling that person this morning that there's an apprentice program in the state of Tennessee that they can learn those crafts and be prepared with those. Speak to that, because...
Well, the thing is, and I urge people everywhere, that if I don't know something, do not be ashamed to search for the answer. You've got to be a resourceful person in society today to be able to get somewhere. If you're not resourceful, you will not have an opportunity to have access to all the options. Go ask for help.
Very good. Now, what if they wanted to find out more about what's going on in terms of survival skills and et cetera? What would you tell them to do this morning?
Well, they can call our office. Our number is 741-2913 to get more additional information on that.
And of course, they would have that information. What about finding out about some of these apprenticeship programs that we're
They can call the unemployment office down at 8th Avenue, 741-3626.
And you mentioned 901 building.
That's 909 8th Avenue, right down by the Goodwill.
And now, during the last minute or so that we have, are there any, 2 minutes that we have, are there any final comments that you'd like to make in terms of this program, in terms of the kind of support that you're getting for this program, and especially in terms of the future that you see for what you're doing now?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I'm just elated that our Commissioner, James Davenport, allowed me to be involved in such. It is my life work. I've been doing this type of work all along. I envisioned the program growing. Senator Thelma Harper came and allowed us to have our graduation at the Senate chambers. And what a beautiful feeling that these gentlemen got going to the Senate chambers. In that arena, it gave them an uplifting, it gave me an uplifting just to have the opportunity to expose them to this. And I've gotten indications from our Commissioner Davenport that the program will be continued, and we're waiting for the other data and documentation to substance and to back up whatever the funding will be.
Okay, very good. And let me, over this last minute, thank you, Stephens, for coming by and giving us that information about Survival Skills for Men program. We also understand that there's a survival skill for women, and the next time that we talk to you, we'll have another person to come back and talk about that program. But in the meantime, we certainly want to thank you and the Commissioner for allowing you to come down and give us that information today. And I'm almost sure that it will be very, very important in the lives of some persons who need these skills desperately. And let me thank you for coming by and giving us that information. And let me encourage you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.